Travis Wayne Goodsell. Character development. As an author, I've not really been able to get to fiction writing like I would have liked to. Had I been had I had Amazon and their publishing back in high school, that would have been awesome. I wouldn't have bothered trying to work for Blockbuster as my dream job, to just have my own apartment and just live the rest of my life working at Blockbuster and then watching movies. So, yeah. Who would have known that Blockbuster would have sabotaged themselves to go out of business? I did when I worked there, which was interesting. But anyway, it's important when writing books, fiction books, that you have good character development so that your reader can enjoy the book. If you have a character and you describe them in one particular way so that the reader knows the character and can make predictions on what they're going to do in certain circumstances, you have to maintain that character with the new circumstances that come up. Because if you don't, and you provide a character which is inconsistent, you have to explain yourself. For example, if your character is calm, collected, and steady under pressure, if you have a situation where the character just snaps, well, you have to explain yourself, because you can't just say, well, this particular case they snapped. You break character when you do that kind of stunt, and you lose the respect of the reader. Another example is you develop a character that tells the truth all the time. So no matter what the circumstances, they always end up telling the truth. And then you, in one book, throw out a surprise where they outright lie. If you don't explain, if you don't give clues leading up to the lie, you're going to disappoint your reader. So character development is very important. And that's why I like certain shows and movies, is because of the authors, and in cases the actors portraying the role that they were hired to do, their character development. That's why I loved Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. Excellent character development, far better than even Sean Connery. He was just the first, and he kept, or he made the standard, I guess, for James Bond. But for character development, there really wasn't much. It was under Pierce Brosnan that character development came into play. As for example, the one movie where he's held hostage in North Korea, I believe, and is then released. That was awesome. And you can see some of them where you do see a little bit of character development with the loss of of the actress in the movie. Yeah, and so one particular show I've been trying to get a hold of, and finally have gotten all of it now, is Vampire Diaries. And I saw that while I was locked away by the LDS Church. They didn't like it that I was a translator, and they weren't. And so they had me disappeared. And while I was locked away, I saw the new show called Vampire Diaries. I was fortunate enough to be able to watch the show, let alone be able to watch TV during that time. And they had captured my interest at the beginning. They have the two brothers who are vampires, and they both have the hots for the main actress, but the one brother is the one who wins out. And I was excited for the character development, but then they blew it. As the other brother is, I'm seeing their attempt to change him to the good guy and turn the good vampire into the bad vampire with ulterior motives. And I was like, no, come on, no, you're messing up the show. and so that was interesting about that. But and so when I'm talking about the church as an LDS critic, I was born and raised in the church, and so I was taught all about how it's essential for God's church to have prophets to lead and guide us in these latter days, and we should be thankful because we're superior and blessed for having been born and raised in the church, and how Brigham Young was truly inspired to lead the church into the Salt Lake Valley after the murder of Joseph Smith, and they never, of course, talked about polygamy or the temple changes or the wearing of garments edition or the Freemasonry of the Scottish Rites with the symbolism of the Scottish Rites, which corresponds to Luciferianism, and blood atonement, and death threats, and the murder. And so, yeah, when I find out about these things, when I do my own research on the church, I can understand how Mormons are going, wait a minute, no, critics are changing the character of Brigham Young. It's completely contrary to what we've known and loved, and the Spirit testified to us that it's true because we just read, pondered, and prayed what the church gave us to read, ponder, and pray. Which is not how it's supposed to be done, Mormons. And I've done that video. Yeah, I can understand how the drastic change in character of Brigham Young can cause Mormons, as it did me, to question the validity. But I'd already been made aware of many, many problems in the church as I published many of those problems that I found in Philosophy of Mormonism. And so I was well aware. Then I think the other one that I did, Mormon Philosophy, was where I added Mormon illiteracy. I'm something to think about. Well, I don't know. Coronavirus is messing everything up. I'm not sure if I want to flood Amazon again with a whole bunch of publications. But when I did the research into church history, I started with the murder of Joseph Smith, and the evidence was pointing to a troubling area that I said, okay, nope, I've got to stop. I need to go back to the beginning. And that's why I went from the beginning and worked my way forward, and had only gotten to 1828-9, that time period, and I've done some videos since then to cover other information and even additional information that I learned that pose new insight into what really happened. And so as I proceeded to learn more about the true character of Brigham Young, that turned me further and further away from the current church, as I realized that they were the ones who were messing up the character of Brigham Young in the first place, which caused the inconsistency in character development. Because when you find out that Brigham Young was polygamist, and he was blaming Joseph Smith for polygamy, it's inconsistent. Too much evidence points to Joseph Smith being monogamous, and then it was the secret Gadian band in the Mormon church called the Danites, who were instead committing all the crimes and the rapes and such. So, yeah, and I just thought I'd share that with you, as you heard the what was it, disc 2 of season 6 getting converted into a digital format. So, alrighty, just wanted to let Mormons know, because we're in Armageddon, if you hadn't noticed. I mean, Trump's trying to claim that, oh, it's almost over, it's going to disappear, everything's fine. No, it's not going to be fine. They still don't have a vaccine for the public. It's not going to be fine, which means it's going to get worse if it does stop before the summertime. And it's going to get worse in the fall, far more damaging than what we're experiencing here in the spring and winter. Alrighty.